people. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? I'm back today with a nice little analysis video. A lot of things I liked about the game against Cardiff, and a lot of things that have massively improved from previous weeks and showing a lot more consistency. And it's not just necessarily who you're playing, but it's about your movements. Sometimes when you play teams that are more defensive and not that good, you have more time to actually figure out what's right and wrong. That makes sense. It's actually a good way to actually kind of use that kind of training scenario when you're solid in the game, you know what's happening, and you can try different movements and you can try different formations and different setups. And I think that's what we did to an extent. You know, there was stuff I've not really seen that much this season and stuff that worked a lot better than usual this season. And I thought the fluidity of our team, which is something we struggled, was very impressive for me. So yeah, we'll get into that right now. The first instance is the fluid back three, and that word fluid is huge in this entire part. It's the fluidity of our team, our possession, that really impressed me about this game. Really impressed me. And a simple, straight away you can see, we are in a back three out of possession with our fullbacks playing extremely high, creating width and depth. Now what makes this difficult for Cardiff to press is this bit here. One, our defence is fairly deep, right? But what that's doing is enticing their midfield to play higher. With Kamara in this kind of defensive role, occupying one midfielder, that creates space in this area, which I've boxed out here, for our creative number 10 to have the ball in that position. Now, with the back three, obviously that's a midfielder in Gruev who's come out of that midfield. It makes it so difficult to press if you're all on different angles and you're all creating space for each other. Rodon, as you can see now, is sitting deeper than Gruev is, which makes it difficult for this guy to press. They're also not so close to each other. And a key aspect of this is Ampadu, who again is playing higher up and further out than Rodon, making him hard to press. If Ampadu's here and Gruev's here and they're in a straight line, like we showed the other week, like this, it's so easy for this guy to press. And by them doing 3 straight passes in a row, you're simply not affecting anything. But in this scenario, you are. Because this guy now can't just press in a straight line. He has to go to him. He then has to drop deeper to press, which just creates more space in here and entices these guys out. And then the ball goes to Ampadu. Is that the striker that presses? Or is that the winger that presses? If it is the winger that presses, you've got Jorginho in these half spaces. Right? And you've got Junior Firpo in these spaces here to give it to Jorginho. It was so much more fluid. And a key aspect to this is, again, the midfield movement, the height, and the different lines our fullbacks run, which is important. We create unbalance in their midfield. The unpredictability of Jorginho Rutter and his movement, and how far he will go to find free spaces. How good our fullbacks were in terms of movements, which we'll get into in a minute. Our wingers, Chris Somerville and Dan James, pinning their fullbacks. Which left these spaces in these attacking midfield areas where we were dangerous. Problem is, okay, and this is it for me. This is why I don't always talk about so many formations, because we're so fluid out of possession, and this is what you need to be. If you're a good team, you have to be fluid and unpredictable. Predictability is something we've had an issue with. So we've been in this position before, right? We have. It's different now with Patrick Bamford up top, who's pinning the centre-backs, which is creating space for Jorginho. He's not playing in the same area as Jorginho. Fed up of that. Him and Pirro always played in the same area. None of them stretched well enough. Patrick Bamford is elite at doing that. He's elite at doing that. And again, back to this picture. This is what I mean. There's not one person in this 3 stretching their defence. It made it so compact and so easy in here. Whereas here, can't see off picture, but Patrick Bamford is on the last man. Our defence is creating different angles, and it's just making so much space all around this midfield area to play around with it with your good technical players. And this was key for me. This was key. Next bit. And it's just a little movement. You don't always have to play through the lines. You don't always have to play quick passing football through the middle thirds, out wide. Sometimes you just have to create that movement. So we progress the ball a little bit. Ampadu has it in this position here. They're slightly more narrow, as you can see, because the higher we get up, the more narrow they become, naturally. Because you're not going to nick the ball from this position. And there's some key points in this. One is Patrick Bamford occupying both of these centre-backs. trait of Patrick Bamford is excellent at. His brain and his movement is brilliant. It always has been. He knows exactly how to occupy defenders. He knows exactly how to fit into a system. He knows exactly what's the best movement for the team. And what I love about this, if we go back to the previous thing, that is Bowler there, and that's Junior Firpo. High and wide, you've also got Chris Somerville out of picture, who is pinning the fullback. Just like Dan James is over there, Chris Somerville just out of picture is doing the same thing. Now, what we've recognised. We didn't find Jorginho in here. Fine. What else have we got? Let's not be predictable. We weren't predictable. All that's happened here is Junior Firpo has gone from this position, has recognised when Joe Rodon gets that ball. Okay, now it's my trigger. And it's all about triggers of movements. He's recognised, right, this guy's tight to me. All I'm going to do, me and Cree are going to switch positions. Cree comes from out wide in there. Bowler didn't have a clue where Firpo is. Firpo's gone on his bike. It's one ball over the top, and then you're in this position. And now scripted movements, you understand what's going on, you understand the fluidity of it now. Chris Somerville sees the space, left from Bowler. Perry and G has to come out to Firpo. You can't leave him to run into the box by himself, which leaves this space. So simple, just from one pass. And this is what I mean about the key and the importance of playing on different lines. I mentioned it the other week when we got the ball and the winger was always out wide in space, but we never found it because we didn't create the angle of the pass. We didn't create space to attack. You know, that was the problem. The movement wasn't fluid. We were too stubborn in the way we were. We had 4 or 5 across the middle line. This is an example. These 3 guys here, all on the same line, not affecting anything. This guy, which means these guys were too easily left alone. They had nothing to do. You know, Gruev hasn't got an angle for this pass in there. And these 3 guys are all on the same line, not affecting the play. Whereas in this one, you can see the depth. You can see the different lines we're playing on. Even the wing, even the fullbacks are on completely different lines. The back 3 are on different lines. It creates depth. It creates angles to pass. It creates movements. It disrupts this. They can't be narrow because we're playing with width and movement. We're fluid. So they have to vacate their space. Again, occupying, simple movement from Cree to come inside. Jorginho Rutter sees that and goes out wide, quick and early. Ball into here, and then suddenly with one pass, you're in behind. And that's just how easy it is at times. And a key aspect I want to say by just moving my head real quick. Look at Patrick Bamford's movement here. Look at his movement. Look where he is here. Yeah. Central, when the ball's centrally, he's in between the centre-backs. The second that ball goes to Junior Firpo, his run now, this is genius by the way, good striker. This run is behind both centre-backs. Look at it. He has no idea where he is. Now he's occupied by Bamford, who's running behind them both. Genius. I mean, it's simple stuff that good strikers do, but his movement is unbelievable and always has been. And that just creates more space for Cree because he can't commit to tracking quicker because he doesn't know where Patrick Bamford is. Patrick Bamford is behind both centre-backs. And you know that run's going to be in front of them. The importance of having a number 9 that fits the system and understands the movement is vital in any system. And this is a key point in that. Maintaining our width as well. Here's another, the importance of width and depth. Another example of the same thing. Just look at the overall pitch, right? Just look how free we are. How much space there is. Because we're creating depth from Patrick Bamford, who's occupying centre-backs. Chris Somerville has come from here to here. So this, the fullback is in half space. Now Junior Firpo has the space running behind. So he doesn't know whether to stick to him or not. He doesn't know whether to stick to him or go to him. It creates depth, it creates confusion, it creates chances, it creates space. That's what we did excellently all game. This is just one example. Look, from one pass from the centre-back into this position because of the movement of the players, its importance. This is what it should be. This is what we need to do. This is the importance of having a profile and a player like Patrick Bamford. Whether he's injured or not, that is the key, right? If he's injured, we need a direct profile who can fit this and do the exact same things. Because none of these pictures is Patrick Bamford playing in the same space as Jorginho Rutter. In none of them. He's not in the same space of him. He's giving him the space. He's creating the depth. And all the other game we're talking about was these two, Perron and Rutter, playing in the same spaces. No one's affecting anything in behind. Now we have that threat. And when you've got movement out wide, which creates confusion in fullbacks and wide areas, the centre-backs are in trouble. And you've got Jorginho lurking in half spaces in between the lines. Yeah. This is an effective team when you play like this. And then from one pass you're in because of good movement. The press. Another thing I liked off the ball, and Gruev will come into this again, don't you worry. This is about everyone, but I just want to just kind of show some key little stuff that Gruev did do that I really enjoyed. The important thing about this press is, and it's the same about any press, is first you have to initiate the press. You have to be sensible how you initiate the press. You can't just press like this because they are wide, they're stretched, you'll be outnumbered. So the idea is to make them play down one way. And then when you make them do that, that's when you initiate the press. Bamford here has recognised this midfield runner, has come deep to receive the ball. So his idea now is I'm just going to shut that off. The only option then is backwards. Right? But when they're over here, it's the same situation they're going to have over here. So that's fine. But they didn't choose to do that. It's about that hesitation. That pass he wanted, and he's looking right at him, is him in there. Patrick Bamford recognised that. You're not doing that. Jorginho Rutter is tight on him. There's no space for him in midfield. And Chris Somerville, you can't see behind my head. Apologies. Chris Somerville, as you can see down there, is just covering any of these spaces here and here. Bamford's in there. Rutter is covering this guy in here. He is just cutting these lines out. The first thought is this guy wants to go here. But you can't do that because Patrick Bamford's shutting that off. So there's the hesitation. Realising the pressing trigger. Now this is it. This is Patrick Bamford's trigger to press. You see he's cut this one off. Now he's 1v1 with him. He knows, right, you're mine. You can go backwards, but you ain't going forwards. And if you are, it's going to be into pressure. Just behind my head is Perry Ng. You can't see him, he's just off picture. But he's just behind my head. And look at the same situation. He's now 1v1 with him. That's his man. You're on me now. There's no pass. Just pass it out wide so we can initiate our press. Jorginho Rutter is tight in here again. Kamara is covering the space in behind Chris Somerville for when Chris Somerville has to go out wide and press Perry Ng. I believe it's Perry Ng on the right. It might be left. I can't remember. I think it's right. Point is, man for man, watching the space, watching the runners in there. 1v1. You're making them down this right side. That's where you're making them go. That's the only way they can go. Or back. But if they go back, it's just the same thing. Here we go again. Now we're in a 1v1 pressing situation. No space or no options. Gives him the ball to Perry Ng out here. I believe. I'm sorry if it isn't. I believe it is. Free is 1v1 on him. Rutter is 1v1 on midfields. Patrick Bamford is 1-on-1 on a defender. In other words, there's no options. You can only try and come back. He's not allowing him to play one down the line because it's too tight. And the only thing he can do is kick it at him and maybe win a throw-in. But the system, the way they play, they want to try and play out. They want to try and break us down that way. This is good. And this started all from this. Patrick Bamford cutting this half of the pitch off and making them play into this area. And we knew that would happen. And it's led to a 1v1 in 3 different spaces. What do we do? Pressure. Here we go. Now he's facing his own goal with no options. Because Patrick Bamford is ready on him. Jorginho Rutter is covering this one. That's not an option. There's no way you can backheel it through 2 guys and get to him if he does. Fair play. That's when you have to say that. Midfielders are nothing. This other centre-back's nothing. No options equals delay equals pressing triggers. More pressing triggers. And this one is Jorginho Rutter. He's got him man for man. There's no chance he gets it to him. Jorginho Rutter's right. I'll press then now. That's a 2v1 press. There's nothing you're not getting out of that, or you shouldn't. And he doesn't. Straight away, from that, we win it back. Slightly heavy pass, but you're in on goal. And that's how effective a press can be if you get the triggers right, and that's vital. A lot of the times this season, what I've seen is when we do it, we're almost half a foot off each man each time. And it did happen in this game once or twice where we did this thing, but we weren't quite reactive enough to where the ball was going. And that trigger from Patrick Bamford, who starts off the press, we weren't quick enough to react to that. So then it's easy to play through us. Because as you can imagine here, in this position, right, if Rutter's here and Kamara's here and Kree's like a little bit over here, there's just space for everyone. But we're on it. We're tight. No space. For example, now, if Jorginho Rutter's there, 6 foot back, there's a pass on. And it's a 2v1 out here. but we didn't allow that. Man for man, very good. Won it back. And we're in on goal. Just after that, and this is where Gruev comes into it. Just after that, same situation again. Kamara this time is the one on the midfield runner. Jorginho Rutter again watching that space. Rutter Bamford cutting anything back. Perry and G, Somerville covering this area. He's cutting off this pass. I keep moving my head. Chris Somerville is cutting off this pass into this guy. And Gruev recognises that. Gruev recognises the danger is this area from the oncoming midfielder. Gruev recognises this is the space. He knows this guy's not getting the ball. Because Chris Somerville's cut that angle off for the pass. He knows that this is the danger area. This is the only area of the pitch in which he can get through. Because realistically, Kamara's committed to that, which is fine, good. He knows Gruev now is in a 2v1. But what he does is recognise the only option right now is into this space. And what does he do? He wins it. And thank God, because if he's not there, if he's not on it, this guy has space to turn and then we're in trouble. Because they've got runners who can isolate players who are running behind. Very good play. Now, what I love even more, and I say up there, is reaction. So he wins this interception. He recognises the danger, sniffs it out, wins it. But with his interception, they gain the ball back. How does he react? Aggressively. And again, he reads the game well and he understands the danger. I'm at the top left now. So Gruev wins the ball. He won it in here. And the interception goes back to this guy, who passes the ball into this space for him. Now, Gruev, again, already is recognising he can't let this guy win the ball in here because then he's in big trouble. So what does he do? Simple. He recognises and reads the play, gets there first. Ball goes to Gio Rutter, and then we retain the ball. And it's these little moments in games where a really smart, good central defender who understands the game defensively is key. And I'm not saying this because Ampadu didn't do that. He did it just as well. But this is my point. We have other options. We have the depth if we need it. If there's a game where Gruev in midfield has more technical players around him, I think he fares better. I think with big, athletic, physical players in there, it's going to be more difficult for him to deal with, personally, with him and Kamara. But in these technical games with technical midfielders that are all about ball progression and ball playing, it works really well for me right now. And he was excellent throughout this. Just reading the play, like I've just shown. Understanding when to drop into the back. And sometimes he went to the left side of defence, sometimes he went to the right side of defence, sometimes it was Glenn Kamara. They had good rotation. They did make the same runs sometimes, but not as much as we usually see. There's always space. So many key aspects of this team that I like, that we need to keep doing. This game showed what we're improving on. Still aspects of the game I can bring up that didn't work and where we were too passive. We played on the same lines and we didn't create angles to pass. A lot of the time it was good. We were fluid, and that's important. There's times Dan James played in the 10. There was times Junior Firpo went right wing. What happened when they did that is we recognised that and the players recovered in their positions to what they needed to be when that happened. Learning each other. But now you have to understand what you've done in this game and replicate that against different sides that are going to be more aggressive and more kind of passionate. And that's important. And against sides with utter quality, who if you are half off in a press, they will kill you on the counter. Or if you aren't on it in the possession, they will win it back. No hesitation on the ball. I hate hesitation on the ball. That leads to confusion. That leads to chances being created for them. That leads to mistakes, like we saw for our press. Gruev was brilliant yesterday. He really was. The team was good yesterday, the day before yesterday. The team was great. And it showed some real signs of fluidity and movement that we need against teams that play more defensive. Because we're going to need that. It's that fluidity. That's a huge word. Sometimes it's about sitting deeper like we did and drawing them out. Being more patient with the back three. Because when you've got the back three there, they will happily keep it. If they're pressing with one, which they had one guy up top for most of the game, striker pressing, you can have a back three and hold the ball. And it's about just waiting for them to step out even 1 foot. And that's when the spaces appear. You have to do something to force them out. And that's why it's important to be patient with the ball at the back. Don't rush it. Don't force passes that are not there. If they are there, if there's a little bit of space, and you see Jorginho got a little bit of space, give it him. If it is a 1v1, and the guy's right behind him, you know he's going to win it. And this is what we've got to do. Believe in each other. Be confident with each other. We've got a really good squad. Gruev playing like that is good for us. Whether he plays next game or not, we know that's a solid option in certain games. Right? Because he's still got more to do in terms of different midfields to play against this season. I think this was a good midfield to play him against. I think this made sense. And again with Ampadu, made sense with the type of striker they had. I'm yet to see Ampadu play against a bit of a unit that's going to absolutely rustle and tussle him. I think that's where Struik's excellent. I think Ampadu's a bit of a nicer player in that sense. But we'll see. Good options to have, and this is key, good options. Whether he plays next game or not, does he deserve to? Yes. Do you have to figure out who their midfield is? And I can't remember, but I'll probably do a video and see who their midfield is. And if he's right, should that be Ampadu? We'll see. But he's put his name in the hat, and that's what he has to do right now. And it's good to see, because we need options. We need depth in every position. We need different options. That's huge. Can't be predictable. And shout out to the guys in this video, like Cree, who made them selfish runs in midfield, which sometimes you get the ball, sometimes it just creates space for Junior Firpo. Jorginho and Rutter always find that half space where he's in danger of destroying anyone. Patrick Bamford for just giving us depth and width and options in behind, which is huge when you're a possessions team, because there's a lot of times under Bielsa where we had the ball and we couldn't break teams down. It's that one run, that one long ball, either out to the winger or out to Patrick Bamford, who made that run in behind, which worked endlessly. Gruev did that in this game too. Props to him. He was brilliant. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate the support as usual. Just a quick one. Nothing too over the top in this one. Nothing too deep. Just basic principles that you need. Very good. Very impressed. Yeah. See you guys soon. Appreciate the support.